Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Bitcoin update. The doomsday words in the crypto space right now, on crypto YouTube, on crypto Twitter, or crypto X, I should say, is red September, right? Septembers are generally very red. We see 8 out of 10 of the last Septembers being red. We don't see dramatically downside price action in Septembers. In fact, the most red September we've seen is 19%, following that is 13%. So it's not like it dropped 50% or anything like that, but it is generally red. And so people have been going on and on about that. In this video, I'm going to be debunking that and why I don't think it's actually relevant. There's multiple reasons for that. You have to wait for the video. I'm also going to be looking into the recent move we've seen in the altcoin market in the last 24 hours. Big liquidity grab. Liquidity grabs generally happen before big moves. Perhaps that's a trigger for Bitcoin to move as well. And then we're going to be looking into Bitcoin itself. Bitcoin in terms of a daily chart, the structure has changed from a descending channel formation to a descending wedge formation. Both overall bullish formations, but there are some slight differences we need to make to our analysis based on that. And then finally, guys, something that you might be excited to hear is the hash ribbons on the weekly and daily chart have flipped a buy signal. Now, this doesn't happen very often. Yes, they are quite unreliable indicators in the sense that they flip back and forth quite easily. But overall, it's quite bullish because we've got about a 90% success rate in hash ribbons that do flip fully. Now, that's not including the ones that are fake outs, but overall, the ones that do actually occur and do flip fully, like the ones we've just seen, have about a 90% win rate on both the daily chart and the weekly chart. So that's very good for Bitcoin. We'll look into all of that. Overall, I don't want to give the impression that I'm overly bullish on Bitcoin. I do think that Bitcoin is likely to see a move to the upside, but I believe that on the occurrence we see a move to the downside, which isn't dramatically unlikely, Bitcoin actually gets in very dangerous territory very quickly. So Bitcoin I describe right now as bullish, but fragile. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Today, the charts we will be looking at will be the daily chart. We've got a change to look at on the daily chart. We've got the RSI to look at, which is very important, but also we're changing the structure here in the short term from one of the structures we have, a descending channel to a descending wedge. We'll speak about that in a moment. We're then looking at short term very briefly. There's not too much to discuss there. We then are looking at the 3-day chart, the Bollinger Band compression, and the triangle formation that we're forming on this chart here, which indicates a move in August. We speak about that all the time. In the same breath, given we're talking about August, we also need to talk about August and September being quite bearish months for Bitcoin historically, and how that relates to the price action we might be seeing. We're then going to be looking at S&P 500 quite briefly, and then we'll jump into something that you guys are probably very, very interested in. This is the hash ribbons chart on Bitcoin on the weekly chart, and then we're looking at the daily chart as well. It's flashed a buy signal for the first time in over a year. In fact, in multiple hundred days, I believe 450 days. So that's very good to see. And we'll look into that, see the validity of that, and finally we'll look into Bitcoin dominance towards the end of the video. Okay, guys, let's get into it. Before we do so, let's check out the Bitget Exchange quite briefly. 5 times lower fees than Binance, optional KYC with my trading fee discount that I offer you with clicking my referral link. That's a 15% trading fee discount for life in the exchange. It becomes the lowest exchange fees on the entire cryptocurrency market. That is absolutely exceptional because the amount of money people spend on fees, particularly if they're buying, selling over a long period of time, is in the thousands of dollars, if not more, for most people. So go ahead and save money on fees and sign up to Bitget using my referral link. You can sign up from anywhere in the world using a VPN if you want to do so, unless your country is authorized, in which case you can sign up regularly. This is the exchange for you. I've used this exchange for almost 2 years now, so go ahead and do it. Referral links in the description. Guys, let's get into the video. Okay. I want to start by briefly analyzing what's actually happened in short-term developments on Bitcoin, because we have seen some short-term developments. In fact, I want to start by Bitcoin dominance. We've seen on the hourly chart on Bitcoin dominance a big spike in Bitcoin dominance. In fact, a very big spike in Bitcoin dominance. Over the course of a few hours, we saw a 0.8% spike in Bitcoin dominance. You might be thinking, oh, that's irrelevant, who cares? But actually, it's quite relevant because at the same time as we saw that massive spike in Bitcoin dominance, if we go to any altcoin, we go to, for example, LRC, look at that big drop in LRC, big drop on ZRX, big drop on NIA, ZIL's the same story, Mana's the same story, HOT, SAND. The point is, every single altcoin you can look at saw a huge drop, okay, on the hourly chart. And then you flip over to Bitcoin and you see there's nothing there. We saw a tiny little drop, but ultimately, it only took us to the lows we saw just like less than 24 hours before the drop. The point is, the altcoin market in the last 24 hours took a huge hit, and Bitcoin dominance skyrocketed for that reason. You might think, oh, it's only 1%. 1% is a huge move for Bitcoin dominance. Altcoin market took a massive hit. Okay, liquidity was grabbed from the downside. Lots of traders were scammed, including myself actually on an FTM trade. Lost a bit of money there, but lots of traders were scammed. And what does this mean? Well, generally speaking, I don't want to give you false hope, but liquidity wicks happen before the reversals. What are liquidity? In fact, let me explain what they are quite quickly. When you see a liquidity wick, what you'll see, okay, so you might see, for example, a charting pattern like this, okay, and you might see a dramatic amount of orders, right? Let me go ahead and get a circle. You might see a dramatic amount of sell orders, or buy orders, whatever there may be, right under the triangle, right? Because people wait for the triangle in order to make a decision. If they've got a long trade active, okay, what they'll do is they'll have their sell orders, their stop losses below the triangle. So what you see is the whales, they manipulate the price action to push the price briefly below the triangle in a liquidity wick, and then all the orders will get stopped out, all the liquidations will occur, and then the price will go up from there. So generally speaking, liquidity wicks, like we just saw in the entire altcoin market, are actually a sign of reversal and actually a sign of upside price action to come when they seem to have downside. So that's actually a bullish indication. Yes, it was a scam. Yes, everyone got wrecked. But the point is, that's actually a bullish indication. It adds to the bullish argument quite a bit. I would not be surprised, given the amount of consolidation we're seeing now. If you're just looking at Bollinger Bands, we've never seen Bollinger Bands this consolidated ever since January 2023. That's a long period of time. And January 2023 was the start of the big move to the upside. So, you know, the fact that we're seeing Bollinger Bands compressed to the same extent as they were in January is quite indicative of the fact that a big move is on the way. We also know that a big move is on the way due to just the uptrending and downtrending line on a logarithmic chart. They come to an apex. We've spoken about this a lot in the start of September, and we believe we'll be seeing a move in August. So the fact that we're seeing this massive compression, at the same time as seeing this massive compression, we saw a massive kind of scam dump to the downside, liquidity grab to the downside in the altcoin market, is probably an indication that the move will be starting very, very shortly, if not right now. Now, that's the way I look at it. Now, obviously, we didn't see the liquidity grab on Bitcoin to the same extent, so that's something worth keeping in mind as well. But, you know, look, that's the logic anyone who has any level of charting knowledge should be using, right? Liquidity wicks occur and liquidity grabs occur just before moves. That's how it works. So it'll be interesting to see whether we see a move on Bitcoin or whether we just see a move in the altcoin market. So yeah, that'll be interesting because, again, we didn't see the liquidity grab on Bitcoin. But in regards to Bitcoin, we can move on from that briefly because it might actually result in nothing. It might just be abnormally in the charts. But what we can look at on Bitcoin is the fact that obviously we know that Bitcoin is in a downwards trend, but it's in a downwards trend in the same way it was in a downwards trend over here, okay? It's in a bullish downwards trend. It's in a bullish descending wedge formation. And we know now it's a descending wedge formation because we had, as you see, the yellow solid lines here form a descending channel. We saw one too many fake outs out of that, in my opinion. I think that's invalid at this point. And now overall, if we wanted to identify the structure as anything at all, the only structure we could possibly identify this massive pattern is a descending wedge formation. And guess what? A descending wedge formation is the exact same formation we had over here when I'm circling. And yes, that was a downwards trend. Yes, we corrected 20%, but overall, descending wedges generally break to the upside. And that is probably what we can expect again. Now, I don't believe that Bitcoin is as likely to break to the upside now as it was over here. I'll repeat that because it's actually very important you hear what I just said. I don't believe that Bitcoin is as likely to break to the upside now as it was over here in this red wedge. The reason being is because during the red wedge, we had major horizontal support at 24.5k that we saw a liquidity grab of, right? That is the region which we rejected on 2 occasions on the way up and saw some turbulence on the way up. So obviously coming back and flipping it from the upside was actually a resistance support flip, and it was obvious we were going to go upwards from there. We don't have that same level of confidence in this time around. Yes, it is still bullish because it is a descending wedge. We do know that. Yes, we do have major support for one being the bull market support band. Okay, that's major support, of course, but we can't be as confident as we were here. If you remember, when I was making videos during this region, I was saying basically every day that Bitcoin was bound to go upwards, and it went upwards, of course. And now I'm not saying that to the same degree of confidence. I do think Bitcoin is still more likely to move upwards, and I think I'm forced to say that just because of the fact that we have a descending wedge that's obviously bullish, and we have a dramatic amount of support using moving averages, etc., which is obviously bullish. So I do think it's more likely Bitcoin moves to the upside, but I don't believe it's super likely. I don't believe it's certain by any means. I think we were pretty close to certain on this in this regard here. But yes, I do think the more likely move on Bitcoin is upside. By the end of August, I just think we need to watch for charts and display or have a degree of caution that we didn't have perhaps in the previous descending wedge formation, because I don't think it's as destined. But Ultimately what we're looking at really in the long-term structure, of course, is the fact that we've got this downtrending line stemming back from 2021, cutting through to multiple wicks over here, cutting through to multiple rejections, cutting through to this rejection here. That is the breakout line. If we break that, we're straight to 32K. If we break 32K, we're in the glory zone, right? We're back in the bull market kind of region that we were in during 2021. So really 32K is the critical level, but the downtrending line that we've got here, breaking that will lead to a break of 32K more than likely. And obviously to the downside, we have to be holding this yellow uptrending logarithmic support line. If we break that, we're going straight down to 24. If we go down to 24, it's not actually certain we hold that again because we've already tested it once, so we could drop back down, and then we're back in the bear market region. So you can understand how much really rests on this decision for Bitcoin, this triangular decision. And again, I've said it before, I'll say it again, we're going to be seeing that decision within August. I said it yesterday, we're probably going to be seeing that decision within a week, so probably now within 6 days. I do believe that. I do believe we'll be seeing the decision really, really shortly. It's just a waiting game at this point. Now I'm going to look into hash ribbons in a second here, but Bitcoin returns is what I really wanted to look into, because a lot of people are saying that Bitcoin's destined to go downwards because of the fact that August and September are historically very bad months. I would challenge that slightly. I don't think August is a historically very bad month. I think September is for sure, but August, if you're looking at the actual amount of months we've had in August, well, this one we're having right now, we can't count it. So we've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Augusts, okay? And out of the 10 Augusts we've seen 1, 2, 3, 4 of them being green. So only 6 have been red and 4 have been green. So like how, are we really going to say that's a bearish month historically? When 4 of them have been green, 6 have been red? It's like, that's not bearish to me. That just sounds like a coincidence, okay? Or it just sounds like natural, okay? That's only 1 more red than green. If we're looking at September, then we can be a little bit more confident in the fact that September is generally red. We can see that in September, we see usually, we've seen 10 Septembers and we've seen 8 of them being red. And the last green September we had was actually all the way back here in 2015. So, of course, in September, it's a little bit of a bearish month. In fact, it's the most bearish month we ever see, really. And I was calling red Septembers at the 2022 and 2021. They both played out quite well. But even if you're looking at September and you're looking at how red they generally are, well, in the last 3 red Septembers we've seen it 3%, 7%, 7%. That's not exactly super red. The reddest red September we've had is 19%. That was all the way back in 2014. I don't trust monthly return trends. I don't think they're, it makes sense that particular times of the year would lead to particular slow or fast price action in the market. It does make sense. But when you're saying, oh, we've got a red September, therefore Bitcoin has to break down massively, it's like, well, if you look at the actual return September has had historically, as I just looked at, the vast majority of the red ones have seen like less than 10% negative, and we've only seen one actual major red month, which is 19%, and that was 2014. So I don't think we should be trusting monthly historical returns on Bitcoin for anything at all, really. Perhaps, yeah, it's fine to look at, but even if we're thinking logically, well, as I said, right, I think the breakout's going to occur in August. If the breakout does occur to the upside, not certain at all, but it's probably 60-70% likely. If the breakout does occur up to the upside, we will see the vast majority of the move occur within August and early September. Perhaps by late September we start correcting, it starts diminishing at return, and we don't actually see that green of a September from the opening price. There's ways around this kind of thing. Just because we've got a historical trend where September is generally red, it doesn't mean we have to go down. There's ways around this sort of thing. We could close the month for August very high. We could actually close the month of August. Realistically, I'm being dead set serious here. There is a possibility that Bitcoin closes the month for August up here at 36K. It's possible. And it's not even a long shot, to be honest with you. I don't think it's likely, but it's certainly possible that Bitcoin closes August up here at 36K. In that case, even if we see a red September, like the historical trend suggests, and we go all the way down, right, to 32K for a back test and see an 11% red September, which is actually more red than the average red September, we still would be seeing a red September while I've moved upwards here. So no, a red September trend is not a reason for us not to move upwards here in August, not at all. I want to quickly get rid of that. And I want to look into now something that's a lot more bullish, because this video has been a pretty, balanced, I'd say, and now we're looking into a bit more of a bullish thing. This is the hash ribbons, right? Hash ribbons basically print buy signals on Bitcoin and also to indirectly print sell signals on Bitcoin through these kind of grayish circles. The buy signals are in blue, and what you can see is that, it's not, look, okay, here's the thing about hash ribbons, right? Hash ribbons aren't super accurate, and they're not super accurate because they flip back and forth quite easily, just like the MACD, for example. But they are accurate enough. I mean, if we just chart out all the regions in which we've seen a blue circle, let's just go ahead and start over here. Blue circle. Okay, yes, we saw red price action there. Blue circle, we saw green price action there. That one worked out. So this one worked out as well over here, green price action. So we've got one that didn't work out, two that worked out. We'll just keep track of the ones that didn't work out so we can just calculate at the end. I'd say that one didn't work out, so 2, probably 3 there, 4, but all in all, those are all sideways price action, so I'm not actually going to count any of them. I'm just going to stick with one that didn't work out, and we can probably just go ahead and delete these because they all led to sideways price action, which is nothing. Okay, this one worked out. This one worked out. These were all sideways price action over here. They're irrelevant. This one worked out. This one worked out as well. And we've seen one flash just then. That worked out as well. So out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 we've seen, only one of them actually led to downside price action. Okay, and yes, we saw multiple that I didn't include in this calculation that didn't work out in the sense that they just went sideways. It didn't lead to any major moves. But in terms of the ones that have played out, the hash ribbon, triggers, I guess you'd say, that have played out of the 7 that have led to significant moves, 6 of them have been upside moves, and therefore we have quite a strong trend here. Yes, there is a chance we just go sideways like we've done in previous hash ribbon signals, but I would say the chance of Bitcoin going sideways further than it's already been gone sideways is basically 0, and so Bitcoin has to move. And so now we're working with a trend in which we have 7 triggers, and 6 of them have been bullish. One of them has been bearish. Obviously, that leads Bitcoin in an overwhelmingly bullish position in terms of hash ribbons. And now we can go to daily chart. We can see quite a similar thing occurring. We can recalculate here. Let's go ahead and delete all the lines on the screen here. We're not going to go all the way back in history because we get the kind of point. But essentially, we had a hash ribbon trigger over here that led to upwards price action. Hash ribbon trigger over here led to upwards price action, right? Upwards price action there, upwards price action here as well. The daily chart is actually more accurate, is what I'm trying to say, than the weekly chart, okay? We had one failed trigger over here. We had upwards price action there. We had upwards price action there. So basically what we've seen on the daily chart, I suppose you could say this is sideways, but it's not really because we saw upwards. But for the sake of the bears, just keeping the bears happy, let's just delete that one. So daily chart since 2018, we've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 triggers, and only one of them has been a failed trigger. So again, now we have a situation where on the weekly chart, as I've said before, we had 7 triggers, okay, that actually led to moves. 6 of them were bullish. On the daily chart, we have 8 triggers that actually led to moves in the last 4 years, and 7 of them were bullish. So the hash ribbon indicator, yes, it flips back and forth. Yes, it's quite unreliable in that regard that it flips back and forth over and over again. For example, if you're looking at how often it flips back and forth, we've seen 2 separate times it's flipped back and forth just in the last month. But right now it has printed an actual trigger. So we have to wait and see whether that's going to hold and maintain. But generally speaking, when you see an actual trigger and when they do maintain, they're overwhelmingly bullish, okay? So this is a good sign. This is actually a buy signal in a regard, right? It's the first hash ribbon buy signal we've seen since January. So the first hash ribbon buy signal we've seen in 200 days. And if we're going to the weekly chart, okay, we delete everything again. We look at when was the last trigger on hash ribbons. We can see that it's actually the first hash ribbons trigger we've seen in about, 200 days. So first trigger in 200 and something days on hash ribbons on the weekly chart and the daily chart. And generally speaking, they're overwhelmingly bullish, except the fact that they are quite unreliable, that they do flip back and forth quite a bit. So it's worth keeping that in mind. This trigger that's been triggered here is not destined to remain. It is a kind of up in the air as to whether it will remain, but if it does remain, it's overwhelmingly bullish. So, that's good. It's not bad. I'll put it that way. I wouldn't necessarily bet money on hash ribbons. I wouldn't because they're too flaky, I'd say. But it's definitely not a bad thing. So it has to be a good thing, right? So that's bullish there. Hash ribbons have triggered. That's a good macro buy signal for Bitcoin. It adds to the bullish argument quite a bit. But overall, I want to end just by summarizing my views on Bitcoin. I think that the short term is up in the air, and by short term I mean hourly chart, etc. I think that's ridiculously crazy charting patterns that are just unidentifiable. I think that the medium term, in terms of its descending wedge, is quite bullish, okay? And I think that the long term, in terms of this structure here, is leaning bullish, okay? But it's not certainly bullish. It's leaning bullish, probably 60-70% bullish. And I think the macro, in terms of 4-year cycle, is very bullish still. We have no reason to believe there's any cracks in the macro at this point in time. So overall, I think you could say I'm quite bullish on Bitcoin. But I would say, if we do see a break down below this line here, everything changes quite quickly. And specifically, if we see a break down below 24.5K, then I will be flipping bearish in most regards. So Yes, we're bullish, but we are in a fragile state. That's how I'll summarize Bitcoin. Bullish, but fragile. Okay, guys, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Check out the Crypto Academy, Become a Trader 10-unit course. You can check out all the information on the website, read the bio on the website, check out the unit topics on the website, etc. You can see the number of students we have here, and you can email us here at cryptoacademycourse@gmail.com. You can also check out the VIP group. The VIP group has had some great trades recently, one of which being BLZ. I showed you this yesterday. I'll show you it again for people who missed that video. BLZ, we traded, we got the daily chart trigger. As you can see, a massive breakout above the yellow and red dashed line led to taking profits at all three of our targets within hours here. Massive 390% return on 10x leverage. Huge trade. That's one of many trades in VIP. 79% win rate in VIP. Excellent win rate. Go ahead and check it out if you're interested. Guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you tomorrow for the next one.